Okay, we're back on the show here. It's me, Hugh, and Esta is my co-host today, and we are live via Skype to somewhere in rural Sweden with Geoffrey West, who's a longtime friend of the station here. Geoffrey, good to chat with you today, and we're going to talk about. Do you want to just introduce the topic for us here today?
Sure. Well. Right now, what's going on around the world, the big focus appears to be the migration crisis. And what a lot of people are reacting to is what the mainstream media is putting out to them and what their national governments are putting out to them. And I'm not sure if I want to call it deliberate disinformation.
No,
because somewhere I think the politicians somehow believe that they are doing the right thing, but there's a difference between doing things right and doing the right thing. So I think what the national leaders are doing is they're attempting to do things right, but in reality they're just simply not doing the right thing.
Okay, Jeff, so let's just start by saying what is it, what are you saying that the media is trying to tell people here?
From what I understand, and from what has been historically present in North America, Canada in the past, now, as you know, but maybe the viewers do not know, I did work for a little while at CTV National News, and I have done some other broadcasting around locally in Toronto, Barrie and Parry Sound, my hometown. Again, I want to be really careful, but from what I understand, the mainstream media is entirely on its own agenda, and I hope, even though I may or may not be able to show you some of the headlines that are now appearing around Europe, we are seeing what appears to be a very active campaign to keep people separated and in fear with this crisis relating to migrants, but specifically to the issue of the Islamic faith. Now, I want to preface that quickly by saying to any Islamic viewers or to the Islamic viewers around the world, I am not against individuals. It does not concern me, it does not matter to me what religion they practice. And all I'm really concerned about is that humans are treated the way humans deserve to be treated, and that our planet is treated with the degree of respect that it deserves because it supports us. So some of the things that I may say today are going to sound, according to the mainstream media and to those who are in support of the national agenda, it's going to sound racist. But we have to understand that there is a distinction to be made, and I hope to clarify that further as the interview goes along. So it's very much like the agenda that's going on with Israel. You know, anytime someone questions the Israel, and now I see your reaction there, Esther. That's a very sensitive issue, and I have been
Go for it.
Pardon
Shoot.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that again?
Go for it. You won't offend me. I say.
Go ahead.
Speak.
Be politically incorrect.
Do it.
Geoffrey.
No. I mean, I have been attacked for questioning many things relating to Israel and its political position and the Zionist agenda. And many people will say that I am anti-Semitic or an anti-Semite, which I would disagree, because I have no problem whatsoever with the Orthodox Jewish people. They are very peace-loving. The Torah Jews have always stood by very peacefully with their beliefs, and they were never, according to the Torah, if my understanding is correct, the Orthodox Jews were never really supposed to have a homeland. And as a result of,
let's stay on topic here.
Sorry. Well,
okay.
See,
that's a whole other topic. But
you're saying Zionists are different from regular Jews.
Yeah.
There really is this picture is so incredibly big, and we can't go into all of it. Hugh, you and I have spoken of this before. If it comes up, we'll talk to it a bit. But okay, let's come back directly to the migration agenda. What we are seeing right now in Europe is a strong division from the countries. There are a number of countries that have refused to sign this UN migration pact that was recently endorsed in Marrakesh. my understanding is I've seen a list of at least 16, 17, or 18 countries. My understanding is that it could be going up even to 20 or more as time goes on. Some countries have been negotiating to participate. Some have walked away. Now, what are we seeing around Europe right now is an outbreak of what's called the Yellow Vest movement. And my understanding is that it is starting to appear in Canada as well. In countries like France, especially in France, we are seeing signs now that the revolution that occurred so long ago is on the verge of happening again. We've got the French people who are extremely angry, and for those of you who may recall the movie Les Miserables, you'll kind of get a gist of the sense of the anger that is present within the French people. They are tired of being screwed by their government. And this is all around Europe right now. The mainstream media in Canada, from what I have seen in the past and from what I understand up to this point in time, they are not addressing really what the whole problem is with the migration agenda.
So wait, Jeff, what is the media telling people about this migration situation?
In North America or in Europe?
Both.
Okay. My understanding is that in North America, they are trying to socially condition North Americans to accept and eventually be assimilated into the Islamic faith.
Really?
Now,
I don't think that that's the case. But anyways,
well, here's why I say that. Yeah. If I could show you some of the headlines that I've cut and paste on a document. What we're seeing around Europe right now. One headline, for example, in the Netherlands.
Yeah, show it if you can, Jeff. See if you can pull that up.
Okay, let me see here. Let's just go into screen share.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are my headlines? I have the Word document here. There we go. Okay, are you seeing this clearly?
Yeah, make it a little bigger, though.
Make it a little bigger. Okay.
Bulgaria.
These are the headlines. So one from Bulgaria. Interview with Bulgarian Trump. We have to unite to save our countries from the madness of current EU leaders. Germany. Merkel says nation-states must today be prepared to give up their sovereignty. They lied. The UN Migration Pact is legally binding and could be valid for all countries. Norway. Oslo police declare we have lost the city. Islam has taken over.
And that's the Norwegian headline underneath.
Sweden is saying Sweden is generous to migrants while its pensioners turn to soup kitchens. Women in Sweden sick of migrant violence. Don't mess with the sons and daughters of the Vikings. Okay, so we get the idea. So what's happening is those are headlines in Europe that are kind of basically saying that the migrants are a problem. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's it. Now, again, we have to be very careful because if we look at Sweden, and I am familiar with Sweden, having lived in Sweden previously, I knew the Sweden of many years ago, and I see what's happening in Sweden right now, and it saddens me because I have loved Sweden.
So what's happening in Sweden? Sweden used to be a very homogenous, native Swedish culture. What's happening in Sweden now?
Right. Now, as a result of its desire to appear very humanitarian to the world, they have said, we open our borders, we welcome immigration. And the Swedish people have recognized that their population is dwindling and that there is a need for some kind of immigration and a bringing in of new blood to the country. Unfortunately, in the good name of humanitarianism, that agenda has been corrupted and turned into something negative.
What's happening?
That's what we are seeing in numerous cities around Sweden, the major cities, particularly Malmö, which is the southernmost city in Sweden, also in Göteborg, or Gothenburg as people would know it. There are migrants coming in who are blatantly burning cars, causing all kinds of violence, and they are raping women and scaring basically the population. Now, why is this happening? Because the Swedish government opened its doors to a particular group of migrants. Now, this is where things start getting a little bit more complicated, because normally in a true humanitarian situation, when refugees come to a country, they will be extremely grateful to their hosts. They will make every attempt to learn the language. They will make every attempt to integrate and assimilate into the country, and the country has historically provided support. What is happening right now is that we are getting a flood of young men, primarily of fighting age. They are coming in, and it is believed that they are being paid by organizations linked to George Soros and others. They are intentionally being pushed into various countries for the purposes of destabilizing Europe and destabilizing the national state. And what this is doing is that it's forcing a degree of fear, it's forcing a degree of division and separation. And as we are witnessing in France, as we are starting to see in Germany, as we are seeing in Brussels, as we are seeing in a number of other countries around Europe, the people are fed up with being screwed. Now, I have to be careful, as I've said, because, again, I am a peace-loving person. My first focus, the nature of my work is to focus on global peace and to try and help share the news. So,
yeah, you went to a peace university, didn't you, Geoffrey?
Yes, I did. And I don't know if we'll touch on that just yet, but I have my issues with the University for Peace. I don't think that they truly are committed to peace.
But I know that you are. You're committed to peace, right? So you're saying all this from the context of you really being about trying to create a peaceful world, right?
I'm all about humanitarianism. I am all about oneness. I am all about wanting to create a better world. But what I'm recognizing is that there is an agenda in place to destabilize and corrupt what are inherently very good values.
Now,
the humanitarianism thing is good, but it has been corrupted. I'm
going to agree with you there. And although I disagree with your saying that they're trying to get Canadians used to becoming Islamic, I really do think that the high immigration numbers in Canada and what we're seeing happening in Europe, what they're really trying to do is pit individuals against other people, like people against people, to make it very difficult for any group of people to get together and fight the globalist agenda. I think that's what's really going on.
Well, it is all about division.
Yes.
Essentially, that is the root of why this is all about. And it's very ironic that all of this is happening all at one time. It is ironic that we are seeing mass migrations all of a sudden to the southern border of the U.S. It is ironic that we are seeing a flood of migrants, young men of a fighting age, being pushed into European countries to cause violence and hurt women. This is, people will say, well, it's just the times. Well, that may be true. But unless we can begin to connect the dots with this larger picture, and again, you and I Hugh, have talked about this in the past. We may or may not have time to go into connecting all of these dots in this particular part. But the people of the world are starting to wake up. They are starting to unite. They are starting to see the agenda that is going on. And this is posing a very grave threat to the new world order that the global cabal, as I call it, has been attempting to establish. And we're witnessing with people like Trump who are coming in and going after the swamp, as Trump calls it. And I know a lot of people dislike Trump. I'm not saying he's perfect, but all of my research and all of my instincts, and based on the sources that I follow, which the mainstream media do not cover, Trump is going after the pedophiles in high levels. He's going after the child sex traffickers.
Good. That's where he should put most focus on, because you know what? Those people don't discriminate. They're going after everybody. And as far as, I just want to say for the record, if it's okay, the real Islam has nothing to do with violence and rape and all those things. And I think that, it's the projection, unfortunately, has caused a lot of them to be like, well, if you're going to call me a thief, I might as well be a thief, And unfortunately, there's like an undercurrent over here of ignorance And it has to be stated that the real Islam, the real Muslims, the real refugees that are coming from the real Quran are not actually trying to do anything other than, like you and I and Hugh, build a better world, you know?
Yeah. It is, and this is, I think, by intentional design. They're really trying to mess with the minds of the people. And it's the same with Christianity, by the way. I do not wish to make our Islamic brothers and sisters who are true practitioners of peace, I do not wish to make them the target of any animosity. So please, I have to be very clear on this. Every religion has its good, its bad, and its ugly. Every religion. And my personal belief, based on research that I've done, is that religion is merely a creation. It's a creation much like nationality, much like race, religion, culture, gender, orientation, political belief, caste, status, physical mental ability.
Like extinction.
We have created a complete world of divided separation by filters.
Okay, Geoffrey. So having looked at the situation there and done an analysis, and I think probably I agree with your assessment of what this is really all about. But what do you see as a solution?
Well, I have begun writing let me just come back a little bit here. I've begun writing a document from my hometown. So far, it's 22 pages long, and it's a document that someday I hope could be used as a template to rebuild any town anywhere in the world into being a clean, green, healthy, self-sustaining, and self-determining community. Every community right now needs to start taking responsibility for its own needs and its own direction. Governments have failed their people. And therefore, and this includes Canada, it includes many countries around the world. And until we get the swamp drained, and my sources are telling me that this is happening pretty quickly, and we can expect some very big changes in the world, maybe even before Christmas.
Wow.
But possibly in the coming new year. But brace yourselves.
What's going to happen? Geoffrey, what do your sources say? It's going to happen before Christmas.
Is Jesus coming?
I've been trying very carefully not to indulge so much the rumors anymore, because as a journalist, I know that what I share is not always necessarily truth. Okay, we have to understand that there's a definition of this word truth. Most people think that truth is what they happen to believe, and that is true. What is true for an individual in any moment of now, or in any moment, can change from day to day, week to week, and year to year. So what one happens to believe in this moment is one's individual truth. Now, what a journalist puts out may be that journalist's idea of truth. Now, I do not seek to force people to accept what I say.
No, but we want to hear it anyways. So what do you think's going to happen?
Give us a prediction.
All right, so we're gonna talk about what could happen, and I'll come back to some of the solutions maybe as if time allows. Okay, have you heard of a source called Q?
Oh yeah.
All right, so the mainstream media is demonizing Q, at least in North America, and the main reason for that is because they feel that Q is a threat. Now, whether or not Q is telling the truth really is immaterial. It's what people are going to see in the messages. Now, for the viewers who are not familiar with this source, Q is an anonymous individual or group of people believed to be very closely connected to President Trump. And this individual Q has several websites where Q posts little cryptic messages. And those who take the time to go in and read the cryptic messages and follow the clues that Q gives, many people are saying that Q's predictions have often come true.
What's Q predicting now?
Sounds like a rapper, Q.
Yeah, that's a cool name, Q.
Well, essentially, Q is saying that the swamp is being drained. We can expect in the near future that Hillary Clinton, President Obama, and a number of people are going to be arrested. Funding has been sent to Guantanamo Bay to build up and reinforce Guantanamo Bay in expectation of many high-level arrests to come. Now, there's a U.S. government website. I don't have the link off the top of my head. If people can find it online if they're willing to look. But there are believed to be over 60,000 sealed indictments. Now, there has been a very delicate game taking place within the U.S. Trump, according to Q, was pinned by the U.S. military many, many years ago to come in and be president at this time. The higher level military establishment is fed up with the global cabal control. They are tired of their soldiers being used as pawns to go into countries and destroy countries for the sake of stealing and pilfering wealth from the countries. Soldiers of middle class and lower class are being killed off to further the globalist agenda and the bankers' agenda. And the military brass, at least the ones who are awake and aware, they have said, we don't want this anymore. Now, in the U.S., because the U.S. is a superpower, the military could not go in and just take a coup on the U.S. government, because that would throw the whole global economy and the U.S. people into vast disarray. So the military brass brought in a plan. They said, we need an individual who is not a part of the swamp, who has the knowledge of how to run a corporation, because the U.S. government is in fact a corporation, the Canadian government is a corporation, each of you is in fact a mini corporation. But we won't touch on that right now. That's a totally different story. We won't go there.
Cat of words.
But they needed an individual who was essentially uncorruptible and who was outside of the Washington Beltway. And Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, he has the ability to come in and do what needs to be done. So in partnership with the upper military brass and in partnership with this anonymous source Q, they have been attempting to put out information through all the alternative channels to prepare people for what is about to come. Financially, the US dollar is about to end as a global reserve currency. So for the last many years, at least since 2010, Russia, China, and a number of other countries have been slowly building up a competing system that will eventually replace the US dollar as the global reserve currency. Trump recently, or maybe a long time ago, stated that the gold standard should come back. Now, if you recall, the gold standard was eliminated in 1970 in the US, or early 1970s, 70, 71. At that point, the fiat currency system really came into full effect, a debt-based monetary system.
I don't think the gold standard is the answer.
Well, it may not be, but I mean, I know you're a big fan of cryptocurrencies. Whatever the options are, what we're looking at right now is a transitional economy. My personal feeling is that in the future, we will not have money as we currently know it. However, we have to keep something that is recognizable to the people until we can create something different. To jump from one thing to something totally different, people will not accept it because they are afraid of change. They do not want to go into something that they are uncomfortable and what they do not know and do not have any familiarity with. So over the course of the last number of years, there has been this slow dripping of information to the people. And as it spreads through the alternative news circles, it gets around and around and around, and more people start getting accustomed to the idea of, okay, things are not working in the world, we need something better, and we need to understand who is doing this, what they are doing, why they are doing it. And when this reality starts to hit humanity, it's going to blow some people's minds well into next year. Literally, figuratively.
Jeff, in India, they're not using currency anymore, are they? They've done away with that.
Cash. They did away with cash.
They did away with cash, right?
I do not know for sure. I can't say for sure. I haven't followed it that closely, but I have some concerns. Sweden was attempting to do this as well. Now, moving to a digital economy has some dangers, particularly for someone like me who lives kind of off the grid. And anybody who is considered a threat to the system can be shut off from a digital economy. Also in Sweden, you'll find many Swedes are starting to get microchipped. That is also, I believe, a very dangerous agenda, because the moment you start to turn against the system, all they have to do is turn off your microchip and you are no longer a participant in the society. Now, although I do agree that we should not have money, we're not quite there yet, because we do not have the leadership that can do this in a benevolent and honorable way. If we have a benevolent and honorable leadership putting into play practices that honor humanity and our planet, yes, I do believe we could move to a money-free society. But while we still have people controlling the buttons and controlling what is being done and what people are thinking, I have grave concerns about moving to a non-paper money economy.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, Jeff, what do you think is going to happen? What will be the ultimate outcome of this migration crisis?
Okay. I hope it doesn't get to the point. Again, if Q is correct, I think things are going to move quickly and very effectively to draining the swamp. And I think that this situation could be easily cleaned up by next year, and as people begin to see what's going on. In the Netherlands, for example, there are children from schools being taken to the Islamic temples, and they are being taught how to bow down in the temples.
Are you sure that's not just a media story? Because, I actually find that hard to believe.
Yeah, who would take a kid out of school? Why wouldn't they just implement it into the curriculum?
Well, if the article was correct, I don't have the article right in front of me, but if the article was correct, the schools are actually sending classes together.
See, Jeff, I just got to say,
part of their schooling. It's part of their schooling to prepare them for the acceptance of Islam.
My suspicion is that these media stories are exaggerating a situation to get people to be against, other people living in this society.
Well, I can't rule that out. Your point could be very valid, but the photo was showing students being taken into the mosques and being told to kneel down. I don't want to say that's a bad thing. I'm concerned because of the corrupted agenda behind it. If an individual chooses willingly to embrace any religion, I'm okay with that. My personal feeling is that religion should not be practiced publicly. It can be practiced in the home, whatever. My religion is peace and love. My philosophy is honor life and honor the planet.
Last week, Jeff, I saw somewhere, and in the papers actually, it said something that a woman was in uproar because her daughter was made to do yoga in school, and yoga goes against her religious principle. And that was here in the Now paper, yes. I believe I saw it. And so, and there you have something that's quite relevant and similar to what you're saying. And it just, there are certain practices that really shouldn't be mainstream and shouldn't be definitely enforced in a curriculum or anything like that.
Right. Who was it? Was it Charlie Chaplin, maybe?
Yep.
Who said that if you need force to make an idea acceptable, or you only need force if your intent is to do something evil. Otherwise, love is enough to do the job. I think that's how the quote goes.
Yeah.
So we have to ask ourselves, anytime there is an agenda that has an element of force or coercion or law behind it, we have to question whether or not the action is really and truly honorable. Now, as you and I, Hugh, have discussed before, our legal system is based on commercial rules that have been given the force of law. Every commercial rule has been imposed upon us without the informed democratic consent of the people. The people of Canada did not get a chance to vote on this UN migration compact. According to one article in The Voice of Europe, 81% of the people in Europe do not want this UN migration compact, but the leaders have gone against their people and they have voted to accept it. A number of countries have chosen to reject it, but the problem now is if the majority of the countries that do accept it, will the remaining countries be forced to adhere to the migration crisis? And if so, that is a violation of human rights.
Well, I think it's time that the people stood up and said no more, because I really think the yellow vest thing, I know it. The catalyst was the fuel tax in France, but I think people are just sick of it because it's obvious everywhere that even despite the fact we have so-called democratic governments, doesn't matter who gets into power, the people's agenda falls. You know, it's the globalization, it's the corporate agenda, and people lose out. That's what's really going on everywhere.
Non-violence protesting is definitely called for.
Yeah, we need to take back our societies, our countries, our cities.
Yeah. If the photo that I saw was correct, again, in today's day and age, you never know what really is true or not, but if the photo I saw was correct, the people in Turkey have begun doing what's called a silent protest. They gather by the thousands and they just stand there. Just stand there. Yeah. And that could be a very effective way to peacefully get people to stand up and question what is really going on. Now, to take this for just a moment into a bit of a spiritual awakening level, there are changes happening in the consciousness level of humanity. Humans are at different levels of awakening, and that is part of the human experience. Not every human can wake up at the same time because we wouldn't have the opportunity to learn who we are. So many years ago, I went through the anger of seeing what's going on in the world. I did not take it out violently. I tried to find peaceful solutions. Some people are taking it out violently by their choice. That is part of the whole human experience. We are here to try to transcend what it is that we are here to accomplish. Now, some people will have a particular path that is more peaceful. Some will have a path that requires defending that peaceful attitude, even if it means dying for it. Some people are coming in to intentionally play the role of the bad guys so that all of humanity has the chance to learn the experience of love and peace. And you can only learn what love and peace are through the experience of what love and peace are not. So the whole reason why we do not have peace in the world, people will say, I want peace in the world. I want peace in the world. Oh, really? Okay. Our leaders say they want peace in our world. Negotiators try to negotiate peace. Researchers try to measure peace. Academics try to study it. Institutions try to teach it. And I was there. They don't want peace because their careers, their salaries, and everything else are dependent on the business of peace. Peace we do not have because peace is not profitable. That is the reason why we do not have peace on our planet right now.
Okay, Jeff, I just want to make one point too, and that is that despite what's going on, despite what's in the media, people need to stick together. That means that because I think that the media is really trying to divide people.
Yes.
Putting stories like the ones you're talking about tends to put, native Swedish people against Islamic Swedish immigrants. And we really need to use that power of love, as you call it, and work together to realize who the real enemy is, where the real problem is, and that is this invisible hand that controls the media, that is controlling immigration policies around the world.
The puppeteers, yeah.
Yeah, we really need to know that we are human beings.
Yes.
We need to work together, and we need to cast off this oppressive
The global cabal, yes, the
invisible
global
hand.
cabal has historically chosen a group to target in order to help fuel and further the agenda. And in this particular case, it just happens to be a certain portion of people who are believed to be connected to the Islamic faith.
Okay.
Now,
So, Jeff, we're just about out of time here. I mean, we can do this more often, but is there any action items, a call to action you want to leave people with today?
all I would really like to emphasize, there are solutions out there, and maybe we can do another program focusing on kind of the solutions. But what is really key in my mind right now is that we have to stay focused on the world that we truly want to create and live in. If you are paying attention to fear, negativity, division, and separation, listen very carefully to that sentence. If you are paying attention to those experiences, you are paying attention to those issues, you are buying the experience of division, separation, and fear.
And growing it.
And manifesting it. So anytime you pay attention to anything fearful, you are buying the experience of fear. If you pay attention to division, you are buying the experience of division. So if we are going to move forward, we have to begin questioning our structures, our infrastructures, as peacefully as possible. We have to begin creating our own solutions because for now anyway, while the governance is corrupt, the people have to begin building their own communities, creating their own solutions, finding ways to support each other because right now it's just not coming from the national leadership. So until that is drained, the people have to take responsibility for themselves. And that means going into their communities, working together, and I'll just touch on it briefly. I believe hemp can be the one thing that can help turn any community around. If the community were to start growing hemp, they could provide for all of their needs. They
Well,
could
it's legal now in Canada, but we can only grow 4 plants.
Well, that's...
There you go.
And ask yourself why that is. You know, why is it that, so many countries around the world have criminalized hemp and cannabis? Because they know what this plant can do. And it will put big oil, big pharma, big agriculture out of business. Well, maybe not big agriculture, but it will put big oil and big pharma out of business. And so long as big oil and big pharma control the media and control the governance and the lobbying groups, hemp and cannabis are going to be criminalized, and other very meaningful solutions. Any solution that empowers the people has been historically shot down.
Okay, Geoffrey. All right. Well, listen, thanks for doing this today.
Yeah.
And enjoy that Swedish winter. And when are you coming back to Canada?
Well, right now I kind of live in each moment of now. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to be ending up next. I'm kind of hoping to get myself settled in one of the more peaceful and stable countries in Southern Europe. But certainly if I am back in Canada in the near future, I'll give you a call and hopefully I can drop into the studio.
Well, that would be great. Always good to have you on the show, Geoffrey. And thanks for doing this today. I think this is a big problem, this migrant crisis, and it's nice to see your perspective from Sweden. So thanks for doing this today.
No, I appreciate, thank you for your time. And again, to the viewers, please understand that at the end of the day, it really is all about peace. And if you have peace within yourself, you can begin to look at the world with a more peaceful attitude. Let's stay out of fear. Let's stay out of negativity. Let's focus on what it is that we really want to create. We are all part of this oneness. We all have uniquely beautiful and uniquely different qualities. Let's bring those together and let's create this world that we are all claiming to want to live in.
Okay, great, Jeff. And Estelle, what do you think? We had a pretty good show today, huh?
I think it's great. It's great.
Okay.
No.
All right.
More like-minded people.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to say goodbye for now.
Namaste.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time right here on thatchannel.com.